Welcome to the Vanquish Gaming VGL 2v2. This is Season 1. We're watching some Week 5 action here. And this matchup is between DudeFromBrzl and his teammate Celo, defending their undefeated record against bnasty and Diener. Now, bnasty and Diener having a little bit of a rough season, pretty much bouncing back and forth from win to loss. We find them here on Discord for trying to do what's turning into the impossible, which is trying to find a way to defeat the dual Zerg Brazilian brothers here of Celo and DudeFromBrzl. And so far they have torn through everybody. We are halfway through the season, and we've had a couple close calls, but for the most part their dominance has pretty much gone undeterred. So it'll be interesting to see here if Diener and bnasty, who tend to gravitate towards a little bit of the early rush attacks, can try and do something. And we see bnasty doing a little bit of wishful thinking there, wishing them luck, but also hoping that they will please lose. DudeFromBrzl, of course, being the gentleman and concurring that he will take it under advisement. We see a few scouting going around here. We see Diener sending out a worker here, and DudeFromBrzl temporarily holding the Xel'Naga and now going on to scout on his own. Celo putting up an Overlord to watch over this ramp here. And we've seen some interesting Discord 4 games so far. Haven't seen a lot of successful ramping off or even really any conventional play on this map. I mean, it's been a lot of back and forth. We had some pretty good slugfests on it, but for the most part Discord 4 has been pretty popular. So we expect to see some interesting battles here. We do see double gas going down for bnasty. That is definitely indicative of some kind of early attack. It could possibly be Void Rays, maybe even some Dark Templars. You'll see DudeFromBrzl most likely try to hang out, keep an eye on those things. We do see Diener putting down 2 barracks. Could be for some marine attacks. You see DudeFromBrzl harassing that worker a little bit, and Diener responding with 2 more workers. And we'll try to chase out DudeFromBrzl. DudeFromBrzl desperately trying to stay alive in here. And we see he will survive at least long enough for some Marines to get out, in which case that range should put him to bed. Go ahead and take a look at the production tab here. See DudeFromBrzl at a spawning pool just pop. Got a Roach Warren on the way as well. Queen coming out for Celo. And see some more scouting here from DudeFromBrzl. It looks like he will go ahead and try to take this gas. That is just in time to save himself from being shot to death by this Marine. And we do see bnasty taking down some warp gates. This is a more traditional play than we're used to seeing from him. He may still be going for some Dark Templar warp gate officers. Oh, and there it is. We do see a Stargate, which will basically confirm some kind of Void Rays, possibly Phoenix, but knowing bnasty in his early play, most likely some Void Rays. We do see DudeFromBrzl doubling down on this extractor, really trying to stay alive as long as possible in here. Unfortunately, these Marines just going to put down too much fire here, and we see him just some excellent micro on his part, trying to keep this alive. We do see some Zerglings finally starting to trickle in, and that worker finally goes down, freeing up that gas. Go ahead and take a look at the unit tab here. We'll see Zerglings on both counts. Not really a whole lot of Zerglings. We do see the Xel'Naga being taken. No units at all from bnasty, and 5 Marines from Diener with a mule to help out there. We do see the typical Diener bunker here, of course, helping out. And we do see a Marine wandering around. He will spot this Zergling, which was going to try to take a hold on this. DudeFromBrzl and Celo, one of the things that really draws them away from the rest of the competitors in this season, and you may even want to attribute it to their undefeated records, they are exceptionally good at scouting. If you take a look at this mini-map, you'll see that they literally have eyes almost on the entire map. Of course, being double Zerg, you'll hear, oh, Overlords, 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 make it so easy. But they also use Zerglings as well. You see them always taking Xel'Nagas. Celo very well known for taking Xel'Nagas. We do see some Roaches coming out here as well. Some Roaches from DudeFromBrzl. But this map control is what really gives them a lot of visibility and allows them to counterattack so easily. You see Diener now sending 2 Marines here that will take out that Zergling and at least give them a little bit of visibility. But you notice Diener and if we take a look at their visibility here, we'll see that Diener, it's very basic scouting. They basically know their position. They know they've built spawning pools. Nothing else other than that, though. Just absolutely no eyes whatsoever. They finally have the Xel'Naga, though, which is an improvement and will allow them to at least see an army coming somewhat. We do see now a lot of units piling up here for the Zerg players, 4 roaches apiece, 11 Zerglings apiece, complete perfect mirror builds, with the exception that DudeFromBrzl somehow has more larvae and more workers. You know, considering that they were both doing the same build, that is, you know, that is indicative of his slightly better macro play. And we do see him now rushing in, only showing the Zergling hand. And if we go ahead and take a look back at their base, we'll see carriers coming out. Very interesting choice there. We have not seen this yet from bnasty. And this is going to be a very interesting play here as we see these carriers coming out. He will want to try to tuck these away, though. It's already bad enough that these warp gates are kind of poking out here on the edge of the map, very easily spotted by overlords. But he's going to want these carriers to kind of hide away. Doesn't want to show his hand because it will allow them time to build counters to it. We do now see banelings at work here as well. And we do see lots and lots of marines, which of course the banelings would love to introduce themselves to. A factory going down, however. They will get no visibility there. Do see expansions going down, late expansions for DudeFromBrzl and Celo. Very late expansions, though. These one-base build that we saw them pull was basically for anti-cheese, anti-rush purposes. You know, since the rush never came, these units are now just kind of like hanging out here. We don't really see them putting them to work just yet. They're probably wondering what they want to do. They're probably going to want to try to scout a little bit better as well. These carriers, we do see them stacking up on interceptors now, and they're really going to want to hide these carriers, so they have such a great advantage because right now there are no anti-air units whatsoever. And if we take a look at the base builds, we'll see a spire just starting to come down here, but for the most part just absolutely nothing. If we take a look at the scouting here, you'll see that they do not have visibility on anything right now. We do see this overseer here, and it's just barely skirting the outside here, but not able to see. Oh, and no! And then bnasty voluntarily moves his carriers out and gives away his position. An absolutely fatal move on their part, and of course immediately igniting a frontal attack, as they know they will have to do something. bnasty, realizing that he possibly just gave away the surprise, sends in the carriers. Only 3 though. He really wanted to get a few more there, but unfortunately he just really showed that hand too soon. He didn't even have to because Diener had more than enough marines guarding there, and we see these roaches now hitting that supply depot, trying to break in a hole for these Zerglings and banelings. These banelings, of course, with no speed upgrade, so they will be waddling forward. And we do see a break come in here, and all these workers are just going to come in here. I'm sorry, all these banelings, and you just see that perfect baneling bust from DudeFromBrzl, just taking out all those marines. The 3 carriers, meanwhile, are wreaking havoc in DudeFromBrzl's base. However, he does have a spire up, and if we take a look at the production tab, we do see 4 corruptors on the way. Meanwhile, we see roaches going crazy, trying to shut down production as much as possible. bnasty, of course, with a carrier in here. Diener just having his base completely destroyed by Zerglings. Meanwhile, these carriers are going to go ahead and take it to DudeFromBrzl, but they are focus firing on this layer. They are not paying attention to any of these corruptors. These corruptors, of course, are going to start focus firing on these carriers. This is a fatal mistake here. Finally redirects, but it's going to probably cost him one of these carriers. And this was such a good idea from the start for bnasty and Diener to try and do a surprise carrier attack. And we do see some of these carriers trying to stay alive here, but you see just the micro starting to fall behind as bnasty's unable to move these carriers here. He's not moving any of these workers out of the way. It really just makes you wonder what he is focusing on. You see him finally now coming here to take out this spire. Meanwhile, Celo is still, for the most part, pretty much untouched. However, we don't see him throwing down a spire. We don't see him throwing down anything defensively. This could turn into a base race situation here. We see bnasty finally moving these carriers into position and kicking out these units here. And Diener, of course, trying to bounce back. This is now starting to sway in favor of bnasty and Diener as these carriers continue to just wreak havoc. Unfortunately, DudeFromBrzl getting a lot of corruptors out just in time, and that he will finish off the rest of this carrier threat. We do see lots and lots of Celo's Zerglings rushing in here. They have not rebuilt the supply depot. Just some really sloppy play right now on the defense side from Diener and bnasty. This was totally recoverable, even with the mistake of showing that hand too soon. But they are just not using their micro effectively to try and secure this base and get these carriers piled up again. These 2 carriers are barely keeping them alive. but they really need to get the front door sealed here, and they need to get as much anti-air as possible to take out the rest of these corruptors. They did do some massive damage here to Dude from Brazil, definitely crippling his economy. We see on the income side, bnasty and Diener are both completely crippled here. Dude from Brazil barely surviving off this expansion. Would have been a natural hit. We see this door is still not sealed. Unbelievable, as they have not built a single supply depot here. And we see it's got more than enough minerals. Diener is just completely foregoing trying to seal that off, and it is really going to cost them, because right now they need every unit they can. They need to play as defensive as possible. This is very quickly swayed back in favor of the dual Zerg team. And we see more Zerglings coming in just as Diener drops that barracks, just barely fighting them off. And this bunker getting its money's worth. It is whittling down Celo's Zerglings as he just needlessly throws them away. Celo, of course, in one of the best positions here, although amazingly, considering that he has 2 bases, he has not droned up a lot. And we see, look at this, all these drones just kind of hanging out here. Like if they're having a neighborhood watch party with the Queen, I mean, they need to be put to work. I mean, he's got a partner that's severely damaged, operating off 1 base over here, and look, even Dude from Brazil having his own neighborhood watch party, without that rally point there. These drones are just kind of hanging out here. This is just sloppy play all around right now from both of these teams. Dude from Brazil staying alive by a very, very last-minute build of corruptors, but for the most part, we just see a lot of carelessness going into both teams here. Dude from Brazil and Celo just, not putting enough workers to work here. Celo finally noticing his mistake. Dude from Brazil as well, and knowing the perfectionist attitude of Dude from Brazil, he's probably really kicking himself for that. They left all those workers there. He really should try to transmit some of those, transfer some of those over to his main base, which is barely staying alive. And we see corruptors just kind of roaming the perimeter, trying to find as much any lingering carriers as they can. Another gold base being put down for Dude from Brazil. Is going to go ahead and try to take advantage of these crippled base. And we see 4 carriers rolling out now, and we see Hydralisk also on the map for Celo. That will definitely come in handy, although he's going to need something else to back them up against these carriers here. Hydralisk is just way too slow to deal with the kiting capabilities of the long-range carriers, and we see these 4 carriers now rolling in to Dude from Brazil's economic bastion here. His retreat away from his main base that has been keeping him alive economically, and we see all the interceptors coming down, just raining hell. Dude from Brazil cleverly moving all these workers out, transferring those over to his severely damaged main. We see 6 corruptors rolling in here. This should be no match for these carriers, but these carriers unfortunately not really paying attention. We do see them finally taking some shots here. It looks like he will try to run away. We do see some Hydralisks coming in here. This matched with proper corruptor micro needs to get some corruption down on those, but it looks like they might be enough just to take all this down, and it will. These Hydralisks get here just in time. bnasty, of course, not microing these away. Unfortunately, a very bad mistake. You see him finally microing those away, but a little too late. Loses all 4 carriers. However, he does manage to take out a mining site. Dude from Brazil, of course, translating those over here. Another Spire coming up as well. This game is definitely going back and forth. However, the advantage is still very strongly in favor of Celo and Dude from Brazil. As we see their economy count, their macro is just way up there. Diener starting to bounce back. bnasty barely crawling back into competition here with his economy. And we do see some help underway here as a starport with Reactor, most likely for Vikings to help deal with some of those corruptors. And we're definitely going to need to see an answer to Hydralisk here as well, since there's definitely a lot of Hydras being pumped out by Celo. We do see huge mass here building up. Take a look at the unit tab, and we see this greatly going in favor. We have 16 Interceptors and 1 Thor with 18 Marines and 6 Marauders versus 18 Hydralisks, 4 Corruptors, and a handful of Zerglings here, a couple of handfuls of Zerglings. So this is definitely starting to look to be a little bit swaying in favor of the Zergs. They've been able to keep momentum a little bit. However, Diener and bnasty are fighting their way back in here. I just don't think they're going to get enough Corruptors up. We do also see some Phoenixes here to help out. Just not sure if they're going to be able to get this, if they're going to be able to mass up in time. We also see that they are completely one-basing, and they are very, very quickly starving to death in here. The mineral count is just getting dwindling, just extremely low. Meanwhile, we see 3 bases now from DudeFromBrzl as he tries to rebuild this original expansion here. Celo finally starting to saturate this expansion, also taking a third. The Zergs are starting to really roll out, and this is getting very staggeringly in favor of the Zerg players now. We're just waiting to see how they're going to try to do a plan of attack. You see a rollout here from Diener and bnasty, which they do want to try to roll out as soon as possible, considering all these Zergs are expanding. They're not really aware of these expansions, and we do see Celo just quickly hiding by to check for an expansion. Looks like he may have missed this. Unfortunately, these Phoenixes a little ahead of the party here, and they are not wanted. They will be kicked out by those Hydralisks, and the rest of the army rolling in here. This is going to be a very close one here. These carriers are definitely going to help out, but they need to try and act now. They need to try and fight as quickly as possible. They don't want to let them rally up any more units. These Hydras caught on a little bit of a move. However, we do have DudeFromBrzl's Banelings coming in here, and they are going to completely obliterate that MM ball. And the rest of these Hydras will most likely go down to these carriers. However, 2 carriers are not going to be enough, especially with 1 heavily damaged. And we see these Corruptors coming in here, momentarily misfiring on these Phoenixes. They're going to go ahead and take down the rest of these carriers. And this is going to be very devastating to bnasty and Diener. Unfortunately, that MM ball was critical to the success of that army. We see 1 carrier staying alive with half its hit points, but they just do not have enough firepower at this point. We see bnasty retreating back to his base, handful of roaches, and a lone Zergling standing watch over this expansion. They really need to expand soon. We see that just really desperately in need of minerals here. It is really coming down to the wire. If they do not expand soon, this game will be over for them. This started off so strong with that surprise build of carriers, but they just could not keep it a secret. bnasty just too eager to show that hand, and it unfortunately has lengthened this game unnecessarily. They could have had a great surprise attack there. And we see them doing another rollout with even fewer troops this time, and bnasty attempting to take this gold. This is going to be very critical to them surviving. However, it's a very ballsy move, especially with so many Banelings rolling up here. This is going to take out what little army Diener has. This lone carrier, of course, just not enough. And we see lots and lots of Hydras coming out here as well. This is just not looking good. At this point, they've got a hard counter to the complete lack of economy against Diener and bnasty here, and these Hydras and Banelings should be more than enough to finish off this army and push through. And this gold is really going to come down to this is going to be it basically for bnasty and Diener. If they cannot hold this gold, they will not be able to hold this game. And without even trying to stop these expansions here, the economy is really getting away from them fast. We see DudeFromBrzl just mining that for gas, as he is just completely out macroing everybody. We take a look at the economy tab. You see 40 workers apiece on the Zergs, and here we go. The Hydra's pushing in closely. A lone carrier trying to pick off as many Hydras as possible. A second carrier finally coming to assist, and this is just not looking good at all. And here come the Banelings. They are going to go ahead and roll in, take out what little is left of that MM ball. And you see the rest of these Corruptors here and Hydra just completely melting what's left of that carrier army. A last carrier here won't even get those interceptors off. And this gold is going to go down. There's the GG from Diener. And a very long fought out battle. And really just a game of mistakes. Very sloppily played in the first half from both teams. But in the end, the macro ability and persistence of DudeFromBrzl and Celo give them an early victory. We'll have to see what happens in Game 2, but definitely a surprising turn of events there with that carrier build. We'll have to see how Diener and bnasty respond to this loss in Game 2, which is coming up.